Having come off the high of playing Resident Evil 2 Remake, I knew there was no way that Resident Evil 3 could be anywhere near as compelling or engaging. The short length of the game, as well as reused assets and rapid pacing, gave it more of an overpriced expansion feeling rather than an entirely separate game, despite having story content worth an entire experience. In the end, it's hamstrung by its on-rails boss fight and limited explorable areas that really drain any life that the characters or story try to breathe into it. But overall, it manages to be an enjoyable, if not overly flashy, entry. The biggest issue with Resident Evil 3 is what made Resident Evil 2 so compelling is totally absent in this game. Whilst it expands the scope of the game into the actual city part of Raccoon City, the game itself doesn't have that oppressive and almost claustrophobic atmosphere that Resident Evil 2 does. Walking through the streets feels like walking through the streets. I mean, there are zombies on the street that lunge at you, which is a real bummer, but it doesn't have that same atmosphere that carried a lot of the horror of Resident Evil 2. And I think the designers knew that. Or at least I hope so, because it seems like they didn't try to put too much effort into making the outside spaces as dark as they could have been. There's blood, sure, but the sound design is quite muffled. Lots of burning and distant moaning, but there's not anyone fighting for their lives. No civilians are running about in the distance, or a few scant police or military running around trying to escape. Despite the tone and action feeling like it's supposed to be in the middle of a zombie outbreak, the game feels oddly empty, like the outbreak has long finished and the zombies are all that remain. It's something that never really leaves the game as well. We're told right by the very first interaction with the Nemesis that this is going to be very different from Resident Evil 2. Much more linear and much more dramatic. The first building chase is a great sequence, but I could watch that on YouTube and feel most of the same reactions. Big explosions, big moments, and yet not much interaction or moments of triumph that I regularly felt in Resident Evil 2. And it feels more a matter of framing over anything else. Frequently in RE2, Mr. X would show up at pre-scripted moments to add some tension to a key point. Yet the game was open enough that past that moment you could escape him and not be caught. The horror and the tension for RE3 is never allowed to build up because the game is always letting the Nemesis catch you for the next big spectacle fight. Oh, you escaped him in the alley? Now he's chasing you because he can jump, but he can't go through this section because we didn't program that in?
It's after me!
What? Run! Come back to the station!
Oh, you defeated him with the flamethrower? Now instantly have him return with a rocket launcher and chase you through the map. Well, no, that one was actually pretty cool. It doesn't invalidate my point though, because the second Nemesis stops chasing you, there's a chance for the tension to build. When will he return? Could he show up here? What was that noise?
Oh, shit!
Then it turns out he won't ever show up because his character model is waiting for you to finish the area before he pops back out again. It values the cool factor of the moment over the horror factor of the game. And it leads to an overall worse experience because you're never scared that much. Nemesis will show back up, but he'll be flagged by a lot of things before that happens. And when he does, he'll only be around for a few short segments.
Bitch can't even swim.
Yet while Nemesis is the game's biggest failing, it also struggles with even the basic things, like zombies. In RE2 they were predictable, slow, yet could lunge and get up and sink a lot of bullets into downing them. They took a bold move in RE3 to totally ruin that. There are a lot more zombies now, and whilst they still take around the same amount of bullets to kill, the bullets are literally everywhere. And on top of that, the zombies will hardly ever get back up because the game moves so quickly through these maps, you won't have time to backtrack to see them get up. To balance making zombies less intimidating with the reanimation, they did the odd thing to have it so that when zombies lunge at you, you take damage no matter what. Now, I may just be bad, it's not something I haven't ruled out, but nearly every single time a zombie bit me on the leg or lunged at me and bit me, despite pressing the button to push them off, I never seemed to actually do it. Even then, I just changed tactics, staying away and shooting from afar and healing whenever I got bit, and it still didn't matter. The bigger Rancor-looking creatures that can teleport weren't much more intimidating, especially when they can be shot by a shotgun and die in like 5 hits, especially since shotgun ammo is given every 20 seconds. I played on standard difficulty and and by the end I still had more healing items than I knew what to do with, as well as so much ammo I couldn't carry all of it on me. One day I might go back and play this on hardcore to see if it's as challenging as RE2 was on just standard, but despite all that, I died more in this game than in RE2 because despite having the weakest combat challenges, this game is in love with the instant kill move. Nemesis has a few, and some enemies have moves that can stun you that then feel like instant kill moves. I enjoy a hard boss, or enemy, like the next Soulsborne fan. But when I got killed in an instant kill move right near the end of a Nemesis boss fight I had to redo, with it being the first time I saw that move, that was when I knew I was going to have issues with this game. It's a problem I had with Mr. X's final fight, and something I will always complain about because an instant kill leaves no room for the player to understand where they went wrong, or how to fix it. It also totally removes the tension as well. Dying in a horror game is the worst thing to do, because you not only have to replay entire segments of a game, but it means you're no longer on edge about things that are going to happen, because you already know how they're going to happen. RE2's second run solved this elegantly by increasing the difficulty, changing puzzles, and having Mr. X chase you earlier. RE3 doesn't solve this because the instant kill is part of the design to make the game feel harder. It doesn't, it just makes it more bullshit. As you may have guessed, I never played the original Resident Evil 3. In fact, these are still the only Resident Evil games I've played because I'm slowly working my way through them. RE3 works for me not because it remakes the next chapter in Resident Evil series, but rather as an extra chapter in the saga of Resident Evil 2. Leon, Claire, Sherry, Ada, and now Jill and Carlos are all having their nights of hell at the same time, and to me, that is incredibly interesting.
This is the last fucking time.
We finally see what happens to Raccoon City, as well as the fact that all the survivors are now looking to shut down Umbrella for good because of what they did.
There it is.
At the end of the game, Jill has a weird voiceover that comments about what really doomed Raccoon City: corporate greed. Whilst for the game it's cheesy and tacked on, and if they really wanted to make that point they should have given us a full Nikolai boss fight, but for the game as a whole, I think it serves as a perfect cap. Because Resident Evil 3 could have been an amazing game, and it has so much missed potential that I think was pushed out at the end, not because it was a full experience ready to be played, but because the corporate overlords wanted to make their balance sheet seem better for that quarter.
So long, Marcy.